Please give a warm welcome to Jed Brophy.
Howdy.
Hello.
Just do a little striptease for you here. Not really. How you doing?
Good.
You do come in the back. I want everyone out of that hall in here right now, thanks. It's great. So I'm Jed Brophy. I'm from New Zealand, which is a 30-hour plane trip to get here. And I came here especially to see every one of you. I learned all your names off by heart. Got a photographic memory. So if you ask a question that's embarrassing, I will remember you forever.
You sure about that?
Okay? I can do this on a chair. It's pretty cool.
You do know we're gonna ask an embarrassing question just because you're gonna remember us.
I'm hoping that you will. I live for embarrassing questions.
I gave it to her.
My middle name is Embarrassing Question. Jed Embarrassing Question Brophy. Does anyone have an embarrassing question they'd like to ask me?
Yes, her.
Well, let's start with the embarrassing question.
Are you guys going to release a trailer of the calendar of Dirty Baker's Dozen? Are you going to release a calendar of Dirty Baker's Dozen? One of the calendars. And which month are you?
The calendar that we did for Peter?
Yeah.
There are only 2 copies of that calendar in existence. Peter Jackson has one of them in his toilet. And the other one belongs to Graham McTavish. He told us that there was only 1 copy. It turns out that he's got one, and I wonder why Graham McTavish has a copy of the calendar. Why would you want one? I don't think, and I'm hoping that no one will ever get to see those images in that calendar that we did for Peter Jackson's 50th birthday. But I can show you the pose that I did.
Sure.
Yeah, it was meant to be a bit of fun, and we were just in our fat suits, which is about as naked as a dwarf can get. And I think Pete was a bit shocked, actually. I mean, he thought it was funny, but some of the images were quite shocking. William Kirch's was the most shocking. I went blind looking at it. Just got my sight back recently, so it was pretty scary. But yeah, I mean, we did it for Pete, hoping that no one would ever see it, because there are some pretty embarrassing things in there. I'm not going to tell you what, but...
Speaking of Peter, I know that you've been in several Peter Jackson films. Did you two become friends doing Brain Dead, or did you know each other from before?
No, when I was doing a theatre show with the co-writer of Brain Dead, a guy called Stephen Sinclair, and a kind of a weird guy came backstage and said, I've got the zombie movie I want to make, and I want to know if you want to be in it. And I said, no, I don't. I don't want to be in your zombie movie. And he gave me the script to read, and I took it home and laughed. And then I rang him back the next day and said, yes, Peter, I would like to be in your zombie movie. And it was over the course of that I became great friends with Peter, actually. The budget for Brain Dead, the special effects budget, didn't even pay for the coffee on Lord of the Rings. The entire special effects budget was about $100,000, which was pretty cheap in those days. And so we all had to do the special effects together. The scene where Lionel was running on all of the blood in the heads, we were chucking all the body parts at him from off set. So we didn't just have to be the actors, we had to be the stunties, and we had to be the special effects team. We had to be the blood wranglers. Still has the Guinness Book of Records for the most blood in a movie. Saw tried to make more blood, but they didn't. They missed it by a couple of 100,000 gallons, I think. So yeah, it was during that, and he said to me that I made more of the character than they realised, and every day they would write extra stuff for Boyd to do because he really loved it because it was so funny. And Pete really likes actors that can do their own stunts and are really visceral and physical actors, so I think I endeared myself to him by never complaining.
Yeah, speaking of stunts,
yes.
I know that in Love in the Bones you were credited as a stunt.
Yeah.
Are you a stuntman, and do you prefer to do your own stunts, or...?
I do, yeah. What a lot of people don't know about Lovely Bones is we shot the entire film in New Zealand first with a Kiwi cast so that Peter could take that and show it to the Americans to show him how he wanted it shot. So when they came to do the reshoots, Mark Wahlberg couldn't come to New Zealand, so I doubled for him doing some of his stunts. I had to put on an awful lot of muscle just for that stunt. I worked out for about a day and a half and got really ripped. But yeah, I do like doing my own stunts. My stunt guy, who was my stunt double on Rings, he's only done 2 weeks worth of stunts for me in 10 years. So he hasn't made any money out of being my stunt double. It's a very poor stunt man. But I grew up on a farm, and then I went to phys ed school to be a phys ed teacher, so I kind of rate myself to do my own stunts. See what I did there? Any other questions from anyone other than him?
Yeah, we got one question here.
What's the most bizarre thing you ever had a fan do?
That I ever had a fan do?
Yes, a fan meeting you.
A fan do to me?
Yes.
Oh. What's the most bizarre thing a fan has ever done to me? Fainting. When I was at Wales Comic Con, a young woman came up to the table and went, "Hello," and fell over and fainted on my table. And we had to, Adam Brown and I had to make sure that she was still alive. That's the most bizarre thing. It just was, she stopped breathing as she got closer to the table. And it turned out she hadn't eaten any food all day because she was so nervous about meeting the actors. I think it was Adam's fault. I think she was nervous about meeting Adam. That's my story. Anyway. It's not that bizarre, but it was kind of scary because we thought that maybe she had died. Which would have been really bad. Imagine that would have followed us forever. Don't go and see Jed Brophy at a convention. You will die. That would have been so bad. No one would ever come and see me again. There are other stories, but they're not suitable for this audience.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. That's going to be in your... You're going to be thinking about that now?
Yes. Yes.
I'll leave you with that. Good question. Lady with the hand. On the end of her arm.
No, I was just wondering, what's the biggest difference between filming The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, the biggest difference is that The Lord of the Rings was shot almost entirely on location. Probably 92% of the film was shot outside, in the environment of Middle Earth. And we only shot 8 weeks of location on The Hobbit, and all the rest was green screen. So we had to get used to Peter explaining what the environment would look like and what things were attacking us on the green screen. And it's a lot harder when you're doing green screen. You have to use your imagination a lot more to imagine what these pieces will look like. And the other thing is all the orcs that we played on Lord of the Rings and the Uruk-hai were real people stuck in prosthetics, whereas the majority of orcs and Uruk-hai on The Hobbit are CGI, which I don't think are as scary. I personally think that my orc was much scarier than Azog.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion. But yeah, that was the thing. I was a bit disappointed to find out that we were shooting so much on green screen on The Hobbit, because one of the great things about doing Lord of the Rings was getting to see so much of New Zealand and I saw it all from horseback as well, because I was one of the 15 people that trained all the horses for the actors on that film, so I got to ride all around New Zealand. It was fantastic. It was awesome. So yeah, that's the biggest difference. Yes, ma'am. Give her the microphone, son.
What was it like to play an orc?
It was really good, yeah. It was good. The first day that we were on set, we hadn't worked out how the orcs walk. We hadn't worked out, and Peter Jackson said, "Oh, well, maybe it's like a baby with a full nappy." So we kind of went, and that's exactly a true story. But it was kind of interesting to try and work out how a creature that wasn't human would be, what the differences between a human and an orc would be, what made them different from us. Peter really liked the idea that they lead with their neck. So they're always like sniffing out food, and they kind of like do a little... They didn't really do that, but my one did. The fact that they were in prosthetics was really difficult, because when you've got rubber stuck on your face, you have to work your face twice as hard to make even the tiniest of expressions. And the fact that they don't have any kind of empathy. Like with humans, you have a bit of empathy. Even when you've got an enemy, you have empathy. But the orcs just want to eat everything. Anything that isn't an orc. Because orcs actually taste disgusting. We ate a couple of dead orcs. It wasn't nice at all. Just because they didn't feed us when we were playing orcs. They thought if they kept us hungry, we wouldn't have to act. That's not a true story either. But it could be. So that's the main difference. And they are kind of... A lot of people don't know the history of them, but they are actually elves that have been taken by Melkor and chemically changed into orcs.
Yep.
So they still have a kind of a pride embedded in them that they can't get rid of.
Yep.
They don't walk like elves, though, who walk like this. Fashion, did we just call them fashion models? Here come the fashion models. I know you love elves, but the dwarves hate elves. Just saying.
Yeah, speaking of elf, I heard that an orc and a dwarf ain't the only parts you've been playing in Lord of the Rings. You always been played an elf and a rider Rohan.
I did indeed. My sister got my sister a job as a riding elf in the scene where Arwen leaves Middle-earth, and she sees the vision of her future son, also played by my real son, who was 5 years old at the time. And my sister didn't turn up for work, and I was there to look after my son, and so they made me wear her lady elf costume and her lady elf wig. I was the first drag elf in Middle-earth, the one and only drag elf. It's true.
I bet you look very pretty.
I looked really pretty.
Yeah.
I kept the dress as well. I wear it on Friday nights at special occasions.
Hi.
Jacqueline, how's it going? I even remembered your name.
Thank you. What was it like playing a troll? The one, with Bilbo?
I didn't play a troll.
Nope,
Didn't
nope,
play
he
a
didn't.
troll?
I played a troll on the mocap stage that they used. Me and Peter Hamilton and a guy called Callum Gittins played the trolls when we did it on the mocap stage, and Peter was writing the script.
Yeah.
But I didn't get to play a troll in real life when they did the film. That was William Kircher, Mark Hadlow, who's my brother, who, like me, is heinously ugly, but slightly shorter, and Peter Hamilton.
Yeah.
They played the trolls.
Yeah.
But I could have claimed that and you wouldn't have known. But they would ring me up going, Jed, you told a lie again. Another story. Would have been bad. Up the back there.
How is it to work with Peter Jackson?
Oh, look, he's the best boss. He's a very, very generous man in terms of he likes you to bring something to the set. The one bit of advice that I gave all the actors turning up for The Hobbit, having worked with him for so long, is don't turn up expecting him to give you a performance, because he won't do it. He expects you to come with a really bold kind of decisions about how your character is going to be, and then he tweaks it. He's a master tweaker. But he's got a very good sense of humour. He likes levity. He tells lots of jokes. But he will do 40 takes. I think the most takes I've ever seen anyone do was Christopher Lee, 47 takes. And at the end of it, he said, I don't know what you want. I have nothing left to give. I am empty. And Peter said, we still don't have it. Just one more for luck. And that is his favourite saying. He always says, one more for luck, and then you do 20 more takes. But he's very exacting. He will keep pushing you until he gets what he wants. But at the same time, he works harder than anyone. I just did a gig with 150 lucky fans that got to travel to New Zealand and see the film with Peter. And Peter came to see them to watch the film with them, and he had just done 22 hours straight in the editing suite. So he is a workaholic, the hardest working man. But like I say, very generous. There's a lot of young filmmakers in New Zealand who get to make films only because he allows them to use his equipment for free. He has 144 of those red cameras, and all of them have names, like George and Bob and Peter and Michael and Zip Zim Dinga Dinga. No one really knows what that camera does. It's got a cool name though. Good question. Good question.
Who's your favorite character from The Hobbit, except for yourself?
Look, my favourite character from all of the trilogies is Gandalf, because I really, really love Ian McKellen. I think he's super, super duper. I think Gandalf for me epitomises, when I read the book, I actually had an image of Ian McKellen in my head when I read that book as a 10-year-old. He was the only character that they cast in Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit when it came to it that was like it was in my head. He was absolutely perfect. It's really hard to say that because all of them are cool. Martin Freeman's a very funny guy. Richard Armitage is the loveliest man in the world. Jimmy Nesbitt's very funny. Billy Connolly was really funny. But Ian McKellen is the most generous actor you'll ever work with. He makes other people look good, and that's what makes him so fabulous. And he's very naughty as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Like my Elvis impersonation.
Hi, can you talk like some of your characters on The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, why can't we have some, mate? What about them? Yeah, fresh. That's my favourite one to do. And I can't really do Nori's voice because he didn't really say anything. He just steals a lot of stuff. I did steal a lot of stuff while doing The Hobbit. The whole set, I own the whole set, it's all at home. Nori's got very big pockets.
Yes, I was thinking of makeup. How long did it take for you to get all your stuff on? I mean, like, Aiden, it took like 5 minutes for him to get a nose.
Aiden Turner. He had a little piece of prosthetic on the end of his nose, and that was about it. He was the luckiest guy. It only took 2.5 hours for me to get into makeup. Most of that was my wiggage and just trying to get the wig straight. My wig was all made of yak hair. But the longest that I was in makeup was 7.5 hours for Shaku in Lord of the Rings. I used to have to get there at 2 in the morning, and I'd get out at about 11 at night. There's a funny story about that. I have 9 layers of body paint on as that character. And they used to have to do my front, put the face on, then roll me over and do my back. The one day that I went to sleep, they painted I Love Vigo on my butt. And they took photos of it and they pinned them in his dressing room. And then he came into work and he went, hey man, this has got to stop. People are talking, you can't be writing stuff on your butt. So I never went to sleep again. It's the only time.
You should have made it a tattoo.
It is. Who told you about the tattoo? Yes, sir. There's Aiden Turner right there.
Sorry. Right. If you hadn't gotten the role as Nori on The Hobbit, which other character would you have wanted to play if you got to choose for yourself?
Look, man, it would have been great to be Thandorol. Because he, for me, is how I imagined the elves being. Very, very weird, kind of slightly alien. And I really like the way that he delivers the lines and the way that he is in terms of the... When I read the Silmarillion, that's what I imagined the Noldor to be like. To be like him, to be kind of above everybody else and lacking in empathy for anyone other than his own family. So I think that would have been a really cool character to play. But I'm A, not tall enough, and I have a few too many lines on my face, and I don't look good in a blonde wig. So it was kind of out. But yeah, that would have been kind of cool.
We're starting to run out of time, so if you have any further questions...
We'll talk about
While waiting for people to ask you a question, I'm curious regarding stealing.
Yes.
Do you keep any props from the set?
Yes, I did. I asked the boss, Peter Jackson, I said, you keep saying I'm a thief, so am I allowed to steal stuff? And he went, yeah, if you can steal it on camera and get away with it, you can keep it. And the props people were going, no, you can't. You can't do that. So I managed to get 2 elf salt and pepper shakers from Rivendell, 2 candelabra from Rivendell, a pipe from Bilbo's house, 48 pieces of gold from the Trollshore caves, a couple of ham sandwiches from the food table, a couple of knives from Bilbo's house as well. And the props people would pat me down at the end of it, but deal's a deal. If I did it on camera and you didn't see it and no one else saw it, I got to keep it. Yeah. And I kept Peter Jackson. He's in my house in a little glass cage. I'll let him out when it's time for the premiere tomorrow. Oh! Danger, Will Robinson.
What's your favorite scene in Braindead?
Well, that's a hard one, man. I love the whole movie. But I think probably the favourite scene in terms of the one that we shot was when Void gets hit in the head with the rake. Because we had to shoot all that in reverse, because we can't obviously put a rake in my head because that would be very painful, and I'm not a real zombie, even though I tried to method it. So we had to shoot that whole thing in reverse, and it took a whole day to try and work out how to do it. But pretty much all of the scenes in that movie are pretty cool. Getting killed with the lawnmower, they had to cut a hole in the ground for me to be down on a box, and then I had to pretend that I was getting shorter and shorter, until I was down in the hole like that. That was kind of cool. There was no CGI in Braindead, it was all done physically. So every time you see someone fall down the stairs or someone smash through a window, that was a real actor actually doing that stuff. getting their head cut off. We killed a lot of actors on that film. It was terrible. I got cut in half, and although the surgery was really good, I've never been the same since. Can't eat pizza anymore. It's not a true story. It's not a true story for the young people. It's not true.
So no bikini for you then?
I do have a bikini.
Yeah, speaking of actor, one of the biggest Swedish actors is Michael Persbrandt.
Rock and roll, that guy is rock and roll, man.
I was curious, how was it to work with that guy?
He was amazing. When he came on set in the very first scene to play the character of the shapeshifter, he was just totally in character. He was amazing to watch, amazing to work with. He's a lovely guy. He's a bit of a poet, a bit of a Renaissance man, but he is totally rock and roll. There was a couple of parties there where he really had a good time. But he was amazing. He was amazing. He really suited the character, and he was a fantastic guy to hang out with, and he told some amazing stories. He told a lot of stories about you, actually. A bit scary. No, he didn't really. No, he was really cool. You should be very proud. He's a very fine actor, and he does a great job in the movie. I just actually wish that there was more of him. I wish that there was more of him in all the films. I'm sure there will be in the extended version. But yeah, he was cool.
He was. Yeah.
We have like one final question over here.
No pressure, but it better be good.
As a reference, in the old Planet of the Apes movies, all the species of apes kind of grouped together and sat together, ate together, and they noticed that afterwards. Was it kind of the same with men, elves, and dwarves? But also, when dwarves were paired up, Nori, Ori, Oin and Gloin, did you pair up for real as well?
You mean like, do we like get married and stuff?
No.
No. It was actually, we did actually, there were days when there'd be all the extra elves came in and we'd be like, here come the pointies, and we'd kind of make fun of them because the dwarves and the elves don't get on. But Lee Pace and Orlando are such nice guys that we let them come and sit with us. We would always sit with Ian McKellen because he told great stories. But there was a great deal of bonding. We had 8 weeks of specialised training before the film started to kind of get to know each other. And the dwarves were we went round as a unit, like we were kind of stuck together with little bits of string. But no, we didn't really separate off into our families, mainly because that was a bit annoying. Like my older brother, Mark Hadlow, I love him dearly, but he really is a control freak. And so me and Adam would try and get away from him in the scene so that he didn't tell us what to do. He said, I think it'd be really good if you came and stood here and then you said this to me, and we're like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do my own thing. And because my character had been ostracised from the family, it was much easier for me to do that. And our backstory was that Adam's character wanted to be more like Nori than like Dory. But yeah, so there wasn't really that separation, except when we were shooting the scenes when Peter wanted us to be in our family units. We just got on with everyone, apart from the elves. I think the dwarves are slightly jealous that the elves have no prosthetics and they're really good looking. I put it down to that.
Good. I'm sorry to say, but we really do need to round up, so...
Unless there's one other really important question.
Okay, we have one more question, of course. But this one better be good, if we have any.
No more questions.
We have one more. What is the best movie you have been in?
I reckon Brain Dead. I think, again, because it was just... Yeah, it was the first time I got to work with Peter Jackson. That was the beginning of the career that I've been lucky enough to have with him. And if I had turned down that movie, I'd been a bit more stupid and said, no, I wouldn't be here today. So I was very, very, very lucky. So yeah, I take my hat off to myself for saying yes at the last minute. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You've been amazing.
Yeah, right. Give applause to Jed Brophy. And I hope you all got this moonwalk on YouTube. Yeah.
Can you continue the striptease now?
No, I can't. I can't do that. It's a family show. It's a family show.
Oh, damn.
That's true.
Yeah. Otherwise, if it was, that would be embarrassing.
Okay, give a great applause for Jed.